Today I'm planning to do a healthy cooking class, and I've had this in mind for a long time because I just want to show people that you can cook healthy food and it can taste really good, and it doesn't have to be so time-consuming or complicated. Today I'm going to do baked salmon with mustard sauce and capers. Measure the mustard into the bowl, and then with a wire whisk beat in the juice of the lemon, and then I'm going to add some tamari soy sauce. So this is about a teaspoon. Slowly beat in the olive oil in a thin stream so the sauce thickens. So now I have a nice thick sauce, and now I'm going to put some capers in. I'm going to cook the salmon in this, so I'm going to put some olive oil in the bottom and just cover it with olive oil. I'm going to get a little piece of paper towel here and just spread the olive oil around a little bit, just so it covers the bottom of the baking dish. And then I'm going to put the salmon down. Now I'm not actually touching the fish right now because I want to save a little sauce to put on at the end. So let's see. I'm going to make for, I guess I'm going to do about a half cup of quinoa, which will be a lot for if this is a meal for 2 people, which is what I'm sort of figuring it is. And then I'm going to wash the quinoa. I've always been told to wash my grains first, you know, like rice or quinoa, you wash it. So I put some water in, I'm just pouring it into a strainer. I didn't wash the vegetables or chop them up because I think that's really part of the process. And I think that's a lot of what intimidates people. They think, oh yeah, well, she had a sous chef and she didn't have to do any of that and it all takes so much time. But you know, it doesn't take so much time. So I scrub it with a little brush, and then I peel it with a carrot peeler. Now the quinoa is boiling. So I'm going to turn it low. And I'm going to put a cover on. And actually I'm going to move it to the back burner because then it'll be kind of out of the way here. I think turnips are a highly underrated vegetable. I think they're really delicious, especially in the spring and sometimes in the fall too. When you get the really baby turnips, they're really delicious. And you can even use the greens. If they have greens on them, you can use them. So now I'm going to go back over to my cutting board. It really doesn't matter, you know, how you chop. I mean, you can chop it fine if you want it that way, but it doesn't have to be. It just has to be chopped in some way or another. Always do the onions first because then the flavors get released. So the turnips and the carrots can go in together, and that's the next thing. You want to put things, the root vegetables in after. I mean, they need to cook longer than, let's say, broccoli or, you know, any greens or zucchini. Those things don't need to cook as long. Now I'm going to cover it I'm going to turn it down low, and I'm going to set my timer for 10. I'm going to give it 10 minutes cooking the carrots and the turnips before I add the other things. So, okay. Now the salmon's going to take about 15 minutes probably. So I think I'm going to put the salmon in now. It might get done a few minutes before the vegetables, but that's okay. Oops, I forgot. I have a frying pan in the oven. Okay. I'm going to have to take my frying pan out. Okay. So I'm putting the salmon in. Got to put the frying pan down. Okay, so now we're going to do some vegetable chopping. Broccoli. Now, very important that you have sharp knives. That you have good knives, actually. That makes the difference. I mean, if you spend money on anything in cooking equipment, the most important thing is to have good knives. Years ago, I didn't have good knives, and I hated chopping. It was so difficult. And when I got good knives, it was like, oh wow, chopping can actually be kind of fun. There's a lot of flexibility with the, stir fry. If you want to put in zucchini, that could go in just a couple minutes after the broccoli. Maybe the broccoli should cook about 8 minutes, and the zucchini's probably fine with about 5 or 6. Well, we have a couple minutes. Let me see how this is doing. It's good to take the lid off and give it a stir. Make sure it's not, too high, because sometimes, you can take your lid off and say, oops, all the water's evaporated and it's starting to stick. Okay, so now we're just kind of hanging out. So this is why I like, preparing vegetables while I'm cooking, because there is time. When the root vegetables are cooking, you do have time to do the other things, and that way it's just less time consuming. The whole thing is just less. Let's see, the timer went off, and I'm going to check the salmon now. See if it's so. No, not done. It's thicker than I thought, so we're going to put this back in the oven. So the salmon is going back in for, I don't know, maybe I'm going to give it 4 minutes. I want to make sure I don't overcook it, but I have a feeling it's going to be 5 minutes. Sometimes when you're in the final phases of the vegetables, you can also even turn it off and they'll just kind of keep steaming. So I'm going to give them a couple more minutes, and then I'm going to just turn it off and let them just steam. And I want to clean up some of this, these little scraps over here. And there's the timer for the salmon. Yeah, I would say that is done now. Especially because down here, I'm going to just cut it like this, because this is going to be for 2 people. Yeah, this is definitely done. Okay. The way I checked the salmon wasn't so good, because now it's a little bit broken up. So we're going to have the salmon in 2 pieces. And then we're going to have little quinoa. And then we're going to have some veggies that are mixed with some quinoa. So we can spoon on a little, just drizzle on a little extra sauce. So there you have it.